Hello everybody and welcome to our first top 8 game. We are already there with 16 players. It goes pretty fast. So this is winner semis. Both those players have won twice and it's the two players that you've seen just now. It's Kevin Krueger versus Oliver Rocha. So we're in for an exciting match and it will be brought to you by me, Philip Schultz, joined by Marco Spataro. And Marco, how are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. As I said, it's cold outside. You cannot see anything because it's foggy. So I'm just inside watching
Oh,
some
cold.
Pokemon.
That sounds like a dream. It's so hot in
Yeah,
here.
definitely not because I'm Italian and I want some warmth in my life. However, I still have this hot place that I'm watching today. So at
Yeah,
least I have
yeah, we
that.
have we have some action to warm you up. And yeah, we are basically ready to go into the match, so we won't waste your time talking too much. As I said, we will be seeing Oliver Rocha versus Kevin Krueger, and before we go into the match, let's just look at the players first.
Hi, my name is Kevin Krieger. I live in Southwest Michigan. I've been playing for 3 years and started in Burning Shadows. Aspirations and goals, hopefully win this invitational tournament. We'll see how that goes. Other goals would be to qualify for Worlds. I had 300 points when the season was canceled, so that'll carry over and I should be in pretty good shape. Also, would like to win a regional at some point, which is possible if I keep playing long enough. Something personal, I'll just say I actually started playing while I was in medical school, going through some tough personal stuff. It's been a good hobby to pick up in terms of meeting new people with similar interests. There's lots of nostalgia for me in the game, and then get to indulge your more competitive side, which is also super fun. And then being able to travel and do something you really enjoy is nice, just to get a break and get away from it all. Sometimes line of work can be stressful, but things are going better now. Big shout out to Limitless for putting this on. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hello everyone, my name is Oliver Rochin. I'm from Mexico and I play Pokemon since Celestial Storm came out almost 2 years ago. Since I got to know the game, I was hooked on playing it competitively and I love it. My goal is to win the World Championship and make a name for myself in this beautiful community. Also, meet more people who like the game as much as I do. I want to contribute to this community. That's why I start making YouTube videos. They are in Spanish, which is my native language, but I invite you to check them out and maybe you will like the ideas I share there. The name of the channel is Oliver RTCG. Lastly, I would like to thank Limitless for making this tournament possible and to tell my friends and my team the admiration and love that I have for helping me to be better in the game and having a good time playing it. Also, I would like to thank to my fiance who always support me in this beautiful hobby. Y ya, sin más que decir, espero contar con su apoyo representando a México, representando a América Latina. Vamos a darlo todo en el torneo, no vamos a bajar los brazos, concentrados y a ganar. Espero que nos vaya muy bien. La mejor de las suertes a todos los participantes, son excelentes jugadores y vamos a darlo todo. Muchas gracias y hasta luego.
So that's it from our players, and we are ready to go into the game. I think it's really nice to see the players introduce themselves and get a better look at them. I always think that's one of the nicest thing about the TPCI stream. And yeah, we're going to try to recreate it, and I hope you're enjoying it. Of course, it's not the same production value, but yeah, just seeing Oliver there and Kevin telling a bit about themselves before we see them fight it out is really cool in my opinion. And now they are setting up the game and getting right into it. So yeah, we will have an exciting match, Spiritomb versus ADP. What do you think? Who's favored in this matchup?
I would say the matchup can go either way. Really depends on the first turns and the setup. If there is enough pressure from the Spiritomb, then the ADP deck will not be able to do, whatever it wants, which is just attaching the energies into the first turns. So if you will see some chip away damage already at the beginning with Spiritombs, let's remember also the existence of the Eveltalgy X, which is super scary for the ADP deck. But I would say once the ADP is able to GX, then it's pretty much over for the Spiritomb deck. If it didn't take already maybe 2 or 3 knockouts before then.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of my thinking because um, we've seen, yeah, in the past, Swirltomb had some trouble. Generally, one prize have a lot of trouble against ADPization, and I felt like when this set came out, the Jirachi Prism Star combination with Scoop Up Nets was what gave Spiritomb like the edge in the matchup, because then you could just knock out an ADP and a Zation relatively easily and use the combo. And
Indeed.
yeah, but however, Kevin's not opting to go for that, so it will be interesting to see. But this is already looking decent for him. I'm a really weak opening for Oliver there.
Exactly. Oliver had a pretty rough start. Just an energy attachment to the Oranguru and an Elgigo's being banned just so it doesn't get donked. Wow, that's absolutely terrifying for him. It does have, as well, as you said, Kevin, excellent start, already putting away some damage, and actually decides to go for the Ominous Buster, move the damage down to the Jinx. Probably just piling up the damage eventually thanks to the Scoop Up Net. But yeah, we might see actually what we were just talking about, that the Spiritomb deck can do a lot of pressure into the early game. Probably not the first turn, but second turn already we'll probably see some damage being dealt.
Yes. And now the Mani kind of helping out Oliver. It looks like our picture is frozen here, so
Yeah,
it's not quite working too great. We might have to switch channels to see it from the other player's perspective. It might be
yeah.
Kevin stream, but the game seems to be going on, so
Uh,
players,
we'll, sw- we'll check very quickly onto Oliver.
yeah, we'll like Oliver's definitely still, Kevin is definitely still there and playing. Like that are bound to happen since we, yeah,
Indeed.
it's from so many ends and so many Wi-Fi connections, and yeah, so it's
There were so many people involved into this tournament as well. So many people all over the world. 66 countries, I believe, people playing from. So it was a pretty big tournament. Some things like this happen, but we're back. Here we go. Zamazenta V actually being set up out of nowhere here from Oliver. So we see him actually was able to recuperate, finally being able to set up thanks to that Detene, I suppose. And also Zishan in the bench, priming them ready. And maybe he actually got the upper hand thanks to this single turn.
yeah, certainly a very explosive turn and an interesting strategy to cover Zamazenta, of course. He probably didn't have any other options, and with Zamazenta, quite a decent attacker here. It can apply some early pressure, and it's also quite tanky with those 230 HP. Yeah, not much
And we
else.
see the full Spiritomb gang is out. 4 Spiritombs right there. Is
The
it a
dream.
legendary? There shouldn't be 4 in the world. I'm not sure actually. There we go.
The-
Building spite, building spite, building spite.
Yeah,
So much
and that's-
spite, so much hatred.
Yeah. And that's the dream for Kevin. Usually one of the biggest issues of Spiritomb decks is that you have to find a lot of them early, and it's kind of hard to do consistently. So for Spiritomb decks have been including stuff like Great Ball to get that done, and yeah, just having fought early on, getting ready to deal big amounts of damage is of course amazing for Kevin.
Exactly.
Now also finding a Hasselberg to deal a good chunk of damage, and
There is the Anguish Cry. Lots
yeah.
of damage already being dealt. And Oliver does have some good cards, does have that Malo and Lana, which I think will be absolutely massive in this matchup, and will save him basically one turn.
Ooh, and
And
perfect energy off the
ooh,
Acrobike. I was about to say the Malolana's useful, but
exactly.
he needs energy to stay in this game.
Exactly, and there we go. He will actually decide to go for the full effect, discarding Acrobike and switch. This is pretty scary, however, in case he does not find another support the next turn. But interesting enough, I think he will go for the attack of Elgigos, which makes him being shuffled again into the deck.
Yeah,
Very interesting choice.
exactly. I guess he values having that Eldegoss available, and so it's a smart play for sure. It also leaves the Samazenta out of the active, so he can feed Kevin a one-prizer that Kevin usually wouldn't want to take out. And afterwards, I assume he won't be going for ADP in this matchup, so his plan's probably just using his using two prizers, except for that Oranguru. So that Oranguru is basically like a Lily's Pokédoll right now. And
Indeed.
then, yeah, just make the prize trade really awkward. And as he's already drawn two prizes, he can definitely afford for this, I think.
And who knows, maybe fortune favors the bold in this case. Maybe we'll be able to actually take the, not be able to take the knockout here with that Spiritomb. In case, in that case, he will need another energy and the Jinx. But even in that case, as you said, the Oranguru is basically a Pokédoll. You don't really care. However, it does have one utility in this board, which is maybe even to draw another card thanks to Primal Wisdom, or even to retreat for free.
Yeah, and also Kevin does play the Blacephalon GX, I believe. So
Indeed.
yeah, so that could be interesting. So taking the one price on the Oranguru would give him the option to later on use Burst GX for the game, which could be very useful. Oh, actually, no, I mixed it up. He's the one playing the Evil Tile GX. I think Ross or Luke was the one playing Blacephalon GX. So yeah, that one price totally useless. But there's a boss order.
Oi, oi,
Perfect
oi.
thing. Yeah, perfect
Psychon
thing
energy
with that.
invested onto the Spiritomb just to have the damage correctly being put onto this Spiritomb. And I believe this Anguish Cry will take the knockout, no problem.
Yes, it will be exactly enough. And now Oliver's in a really, really rough spot. And the tides have turned with just that one boss order, taking out those crucial energies. And Oliver having decided to not charge up his Zacian, instead going
Oh my
for
god,
Eldegoss.
energy switch. Maybe this Primate Wisdom, no, it's just another energy. He does have the energy attachment for turn, but that's not really what he wants. And it would be even scarier if this turn Kevin is able to capitalize on this, and maybe with another boss's orders, even putting up more pressure. Yeah, pretty scary stuff.
For sure. And the Oricorio really coming to shine. Kevin being able to build up such a huge hand and have so many cards just put him in a situation where he was ready to target down the Zamazenta to perfectly counter the Malolana and put Oliver in a really tough spot. And yeah, now it will be really hard for Oliver to come back from this with... I mean, it's still looking okay in the price trade. He can take out the Oricorio, and then maybe Kevin is forced to put down a Diden or something. But yeah, he's definitely on the back foot now, and he will have a hard time getting a sufficient amount of the attack cast, since Zacian's probably gonna get one shot once it gets going.
And once again, every turn, it's even scarier because these Spiritombs, as soon as they hit the board, they're not really super scary. You would need a lot of Jinx, a lot of damage already on the board to set them up. But as we said before, you always want them to have out, because in that case, you always build up damage turn after turn after turn.
Yeah,
and you see here,
yeah,
basically these are
the nail in the
powerhouses.
coffin, I think.
So much damage.
Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's really hard to see what he can do. I mean, he can. I think going for the ADP right now would be correct. Okay, he's opting to discard it, because like the Zacian's gonna get knocked out so easily. So I was thinking that he probably has to go for like an alternate creation to get himself ahead again, because Zacian is just gonna get one shot immediately. But yeah, I don't think there's too much for Oliver to do. Kevin is just set up so perfectly with his board. He has with Oricorio even to come back.
Indeed, and
And
Primal Wisdom. Unfortunately, this being a double elimination format, which is actually very similar to the Japanese format, you would need to have a very consistent deck. I would see that some people here have put that into account and they put a lot of consistency cards, like for example Oliver here. But sometimes it doesn't even work, and that's all based on luck and how it goes. But of course, it's best of three, so he still has a chance to redeem himself next
yeah,
turn.
there we see the GG from Kevin, knowing that he has the game. Now Spiritomb coming up, and all he needs is like one Hustle Belt and then this.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and there it
that
is.
is
Asabel,
building
building spite.
Spite, and the knockout for exactly 220. Now the numbers working out perfectly for Kevin in this game. And yeah, Oliver's poor opening. We saw it in the. We unfortunately cut out a little bit there because of the issues, but we saw that Oliver's first turn was terrible, and then we came back and we saw that 4 Spiritomb are on the board. So yeah, we basically saw we switched sides and then we saw the reverse opening. And yeah, that's how it played out. And Kevin takes a convincing first game in this series and is already having 1 foot in winners finals. Now,
Indeed. And
yeah,
of course, Oliver does have the chance to redeem himself into the second game. And let's remember, it's an ADP Zacian deck. It's a deck that if it all the play, everything falls into place, then he will have the upper hand, especially in this matchup that is entirely single price attackers. And I would say there is a line that you don't need to cross with ADP Zacian, which is just you need to set up in the first 3 turns. Otherwise, that would be damage after damage after damage that the Spiritomb has put up, and at that point you will not be able to catch up.
yeah, for sure. But this hand is not looking too great. At least there are
My
acrobikes.
goodness.
Okay, now this acrobike hitting into a Zacian, so that's great, of course.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesus. This
yeah,
is
but
so bad for him.
it's not too bad, I would say. He can attach the water energy, and he already has the energy switch in hand. So, but not opting for to go for an attachment. Just
He could
keeping
even
this one.
attach to the Zamazenta, which attacks with 2 metals and a colorless energy. He wanted to, but yeah, his hand is not encouraging at all. Did not
Yeah,
find once again that ADP.
yeah,
And yeah, let's see how Kevin is able to respond to
yeah.
this.
But however, this time he did find a Zacian, so that's already
Yeah,
great. Zacian,
it's better than
yeah,
last time.
exactly. Zacian just being the core of this deck always. It's what you need to get going, and now the difference is last time he had a 3 card hand, this time he has a 7 card hand, and if he just manages to top deck an ADP or a quick ball, then he will get the attack turn 2 off, um, anyways. So it's not looking too bad for him right now. And the money there,
Oh, and that Galarian Zigzagoon is so massive. Zamazenta V cannot be one-shot normally by Spiritomb, except thanks to that single damage, thanks to the
and
Galarian Zigzagoon.
And wow, this hand after the money much better than the one he had before. Getting the ADP, the energy spinner for the water energy already, and also getting the choice between the Denne and Professor's research here. Probably going for the research, but he'd have the option to go for to try to dig even further. And yeah, look,
Indeed.
go
And
for the
what? Look at
Denne at
that!
all.
Fantastic. Even going for the Dene, maybe the greedier option, but hey, pays off. There we go. That's the energy switch. And there's even the Malon Lana. Interestingly, he does not go for the healing effect. I would have gone for the healing effect here.
Yeah, I think
I don't see a downside.
exactly, like the ADP and the energy spinner don't seem particularly useful, so he could have just discarded them and gone for the heal. The 10 damage, of course, as you pointed out earlier, can be very impactful later on.
I think this might be his downfall later in the game if Kevin is able to set up and of course he doesn't have the same setup as last time. There's also Galarian Zigzagoon and that Mewtwo, which are very hard to get rid of once they are in the bench.
Yeah, this
So
board is looking so much worse
yeah,
than
he
last
needs
time.
scoop up nets right now. He needs to bench more of the useful Pokemons in this matchup.
Yep, however, unlike Ross, he is playing 4 scoop up nets, so he's pretty well equipped to get more users out of the Zigzagoon, get users out of the Mewtwo, and just adjust his board however he wants. And if he just manages to find one scoop up net, then he's already in a better position. And Black Market here coming down. A card that has gotten much more powerful recently, as many of the top decks are playing very low counts of stadiums.
Mm.
Yeah, so something like a Black Market, when earlier it was almost useless because everyone was playing 3-4 stadiums when you were playing Chaotic Sword. It hardly
Yeah,
did
exactly.
anything. Yeah.
And Pikarom just plays the single copy of the Thunder Mountain. Most of the people do play that, and that's pretty much it. The other decks don't really need to play stadiums, and if they play them, it's just to counter other people. Power plant is not big anymore, so yeah, it's a pretty good stadium, and I'm sure if it's not removed by Oliver soon, it will
Yeah.
be the game changer here.
Yeah, Oliver playing like most AMization decks, just playing that one Chaotic Swirl to have some sort of option to counter stuff. And yeah, he probably hopes to find that at some point, because that could otherwise be pretty huge. And yeah, other than that, Aaron Friedman, for example, is also playing a Wondrous Labyrinth, trying to exploit this exact same thing, realizing that there's pretty low amounts of stadiums in the format and that you can capitalize quite a lot if you find, yeah, if you have a strong Prism Star stadium that your opponent can't replace. Now,
And we see here Kevin slowly building up his game. Of course, Spiritomb, as we said, it's pretty much of a slow deck, and I think right now it's a good spot because both it's good against Dragapult and it's good against Pikarom, since Pikarom has troubles dealing with single prize attackers. But however, it's a very fragile card. 60 HP is not much. And maybe, who knows, in the future we'll see a return of Mewtwo, which has a really good matchup against Spiritomb. So I'm very excited overall about the future of this metagame.
Yeah, and certainly everything is open to happen, especially in this invitational where we have such diverse players from all sorts of countries. Earlier, Connor told me that we had players from over 60 countries competing in
Indeed.
this, so crazy amounts, and almost
2,500 people in total, single players that have played in this game. Yeah. And of course, it's all, they say that there are too many cooks in the kitchen, the soup is not good, but I would say for this, it definitely is. There are some very interesting decks that have levitated from this tournament.
For sure. And
but look at that, Kevin is building up so much damage already.
Getting more Spiritombs there. Still 10 damage only on the attacking Spiritomb, so that's more like a scratch. But it's at least something, and then later on with Zigzag Wounds, etc., he can get a bigger knockout.
Yeah, if you would be able to do one more damage here, it would be massive onto that Spiritomb, because then it would do 60 damage, and 70 damage, and that would mean that a fully charged Spiritomb would actually be taking the knockout. So I'm not sure I enjoy this sort of, as you said, scratch, but maybe there is some thinking behind this.
Yeah, and now Oliver going for another Titane.
There we go. Wow.
Redrawing the boss's order. Perfect. Can just take out the Oricorio here for 3 prizes. Get himself farther ahead. And also taking out the Oricorio means that he's not getting stopped by the black market.
3 prizes every time. That's good. I mean, thanks to this Oricorio, that's the massive thing, right? Because you're in the ADP territory now. What can you do? Like, every Pokemon you're gonna put, it's gonna be he's on the clock. 2 more knockouts and Oliver wins.
Exactly, and Oliver, Kevin only having 3 damage counters on his board, so not enough at all. I mean, I guess he can reach the knockout this turn. Yeah, if he gets the Rainbow Energy, then he can reach 220, and then he'd still need like double Scoop Up Net to get the knockout.
Yeah.
And yeah, he probably doesn't want to put stuff like the Dana down, so he has to go with just those. With just.
And let's also remember that black market makes you draw 1 less prize rather than no prizes. Exactly. So even then, the Spiritomb is going to give him 1 prize, and since he has 3 prizes, he's actually welcoming that. He doesn't really mind. But look at that. The Dana is going to hit the bench, and if that Dana is going to stick there, which it probably will, that's going to be the downfall of Kevin here.
Yeah, and also the Zigzagoon going to the discard pile means that, no more extra damage counters. So this ADP now with 40 damage will not be knocked out very soon. So yeah, it's looking very good for Oliver. He's drawing precisely what he needs. However, there we have the Evital GX. So this, now I guess, the Evital GX might come in very handy right now. Because
definitely,
in combination with the black market, it can take a 1-shot, and then it doesn't matter that it gets knocked out, because it would only award 2 energy. Yeah,
Is there the
so
energy? Also, the hand gets removed completely. There is a great catcher, however, so
yeah, so that
pretty
would be
sad.
okay. But I mean, even if Oliver didn't get the great catcher, um, he would have been in a pretty decent spot because he would take out the evil tile, go down to one prize, and
Oh yeah,
then yeah, Kevin would already struggle. I mean, Kevin would probably get the one shot um, win the next turn on the Zacian, but the game would still not be over, and Oliver would have had some time to finish it out.
indeed.
But yeah, just
An
finding
ADP
this great
shining
catcher.
once again, like,
Yeah,
showing off why it is still a deck to be reckoned with, forced to be reckoned with in the meta. But of course, that's where the 40 damage came in last turn. That Doom Count GX from Yveltal will be able to take the knockout on this massive beast. But unfortunately, it's not enough. Just
yeah,
falls short.
it's too little, too late, as people say. And Oliver, I mean, I think again, it's pretty funny to say that he just drew precisely what he needed because he always took relatively few cards. He just used the Dender, and then he already had like ADP, Energies, Malolana, didn't have to go for research anymore. Then the turn afterwards, he used the Dender again, immediately found the boss's order, didn't have to do anything. So he used a very low amount of cards. I don't think he used any draw supporter, just with the Dender twice, and once the Interpret
Indeed.
Sword. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And let's be careful here. Oliver needs to do the great catcher, otherwise he will just draw 2 prizes. So let's be careful here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. He needs to do the great catcher, otherwise the black market is gonna. Okay, there we go. That's the great catcher,
yeah, he
and
definitely
it's gonna
knows.
take down the Dedenne. And Kevin acknowledges that and just says, "I would like to go second." Interestingly,
Yeah, very interesting. I guess he's looking at Oliver's list and he's scared of Oliver getting the turn 1 auto creation. Of course, Oliver's playing a high amount of order pad, a high amount of acrobike, energy switches, all kinds of stuff. So we'll be going into a game 3 and Oliver going first is usually what ADP players want. And yeah, it's definitely interesting to note that Kevin's apparently so scared of the turn 1 altered creation that he opts to go to let Oliver start.
yes, we did see the last 2 games. Actually, Oliver had a pretty rough going first, but maybe this is the game which actually he will have an amazing start. And it's
Yeah.
not impossible considering his list is all entirely based on that. It's entirely based on getting quick with that acrobike, getting fast with those order pads. And let's see, actually here we're opening, calling the coin flip, but we know Oliver will go first.
Yeah, the coin flip just technicality because PTCGO doesn't allow you to play best of threes, but yeah, Oliver
I
now
just
no
wish it
basic,
did.
but this hand would have been pretty decent, to say the least. But yeah, doesn't get to keep it because that energy switch is notification.
Indeed, but there's an
And
ADP
now,
already, and
ooh,
Zacian.
an even
Wow,
better
and
hand here.
the hand is good, especially if the order pad hits as well. It's just gonna be able to get the energy spinner and get the water energies. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and we will see. I mean, Kevin can attack on turn 1, so I guess that's part of a consideration. If he just needs 1 energy and then Spirit Tomb, Building Spite can do 40, and then he can take the knockout on the
But
second
there's
turn.
the energy spinner. He actually
Yeah.
hits it.
So
But as you
perfect,
say,
yeah.
if the 40 damage here actually hit this ADP and then the Yveltal follows suit, it's gonna be pretty tough here for
For sure.
Oliver to get back from that.
Yeah, so the Evil Tile GX really attack with Shining in this matchup, giving Kevin the option for a lot of early aggression. And yeah, it will be interesting to see if he can pull it off, if he can draw perfectly. Then this would be quite the interesting game 3 where we had 2 games of pretty poor draws that ended up quite quickly, and now we see Oliver getting a really hot start, so it would be great to see Kevin manage to get an equally good start as well. And yeah, just put on that pressure with the Spirit Bomb and the adventure bag already providing an escape board, so that's at least one part, and then all he needs is basically an energy to get going. Of course, he wants to find as many Spirit Bomb as he can, find drinks to like use Building Spite, and maybe move it around, use stuff like Rainbow Energies. Yeah, so plenty of cards he's looking for, but just
Exactly
few
so.
that he actually needs.
Indeed. And there we go, just looking for his deck. Probably checking if the Yveltal, because, he only plays one off. I don't think there's more than one is necessary. But, of course, thanks to Jirachi, we'll be able to dig as much as he can. But yeah, Oliver is in a very good spot. He also has the boss's orders. In case next turn he can try to do something extra. maybe trying to find energy switch, energy, maybe a metal saucer, and taking the long run, try to, if the, for example, the Veltal gets benched this turn. So Oliver does have a lot of resources in his hand. And I'm very interested in what he's going to do next turn. He can just go for the Altered Creation GX, which is always safe. But in case he gets hit for 40 damage, he might need to change his game plan.
Yeah, and there we see the rainbow coming down to the Spirit Tomb.
There's an escape board. Let's see if he goes for another Building Spite, which would probably signal that the Yveltal is not in the deck. And even a black market to top it off.
And yeah, so already everything he needs. And now let's see if he can find anything on top of that.
No supporter being played yet, so he does still has that available to him. Even at Jirachi if he wants to go, but there we go. Professor Research, 7 fresh cards. Guarding the Oricorio, this time deciding I'm not going to bench any GX. I'm not going to make your life easier, Mr. ADP. I know your shady doings. And he actually goes for Building Spite onto that. He can move the damage thanks to that ominous posture.
Exactly, so great start here. Kevin already getting everything he needs. Having that last bench spot free is of course important as well. Now getting even another Stellar Wish, so he probably has something like a Scoop Up Net in his hand.
Yeah, unfortunately it whiffs, but it was worth a try, I guess.
Yeah, so that Scoop Up Net basically was a trainer's mail.
And here we go, 40 innocent looking damage, but we both know that what's behind this 40 damage. And even in case it doesn't have the Yveltal and this is all a bluff, it's still a good play, because you're making your opponent worry about leaving that ADP onto the active. But of course he probably has it, so we actually see what he can follow up to this play. There's a tool scrapper here for Oliver thanks to that order pad, and he does have already that energy spinner in hand.
Yep.
So
yeah,
tool
so
scrapper.
already a great hand. Also he has Mani, so that's probably pretty good right now. To disrupt Kevin a bit, because if this ADP is getting knocked out before he can use attack with Ultimate Ray, then he's already on the back foot. And yeah,
exactly. Pretty good stuff. The Marnie doesn't give such a hot hand, but it's still some good pieces like the Metal Frying Pan, the Oranguru. Always cards that come back into your favor later in the game.
And the Metal Frying Pan, very important card in this matchup, because it's interesting to note that Kevin's not playing any Tool Scrapper, which, we've seen Ross play double Tool Scrapper even to probably for exactly those Metal Frying Pans, because with that an Azation has 250 HP and it will be really hard to get through that. And
you can out one-shot it, so it's always good. So there's also a quick ball if Oliver wants to go for it, set up further. But there we go, the Acrobat just delivers into his loving arms that Zation. And Altered Creation GX, we both know what that does, and from now on, it's still an open match, because if you don't get the Ultimate Ray, as you said, it's a completely different game. And there we go, quick ball once again, probably seeing the Yveltal hitting the board now. There we go. Yveltal GX, Doom Count, which also should be mentioned is a bit of a liability in case, because it's gonna stick there, and if Oliver is able to set up this turn, which, however, looking at his hand, it will not be too doable. Even a Marnie to top it off.
And the reverse Marnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, no. That's not good. Yeah, that's not a good hand.
Kevin being able to apply so much pressure now. As I said earlier, the Yveltal GX is really amazing in this matchup particularly, just because it's so easy for Kevin to apply the early pressure with just the Spirit Tomb and energy, and then an Yveltal and energy. So just 2 Pokemon, 2 energies, all he needs to get the turn 2 knockout on the ADP. And yeah, Oliver having opted to start with the ADP, of course, made it even easier for Kevin.
Indeed, thanks to doing that 40 damage there with that Anguish Cry. And the Yveltal there, it's gonna take 3 prizes, which is very massive. But once again, Oliver's gonna be mindful, not bench another ADP. Yeah, and it's gonna make he's gonna make Kevin life a bit harder. It will mean at least 3 more attacks, because you cannot one-shot the Zation. And as long as another Zation without the pen hits the board, the game will actually prolong for a bit more.
Yeah, this the metal frying pan certainly yeah,
And
certainly some hope for Oliver to come back into this game. But his hand's not looking great. Of course, he has this Eldegoss, so he can get something off of that, but he doesn't have much useful stuff other than this.
so
Just
there's the
going.
quick ball grabbing onto another Dene. Definitely what he wants to do here. His hand is looking pretty, pretty empty. He did have the acrobike. Maybe I would have acrobike before to see if I needed to resort to another Dene. Because obviously benching to the Denes just means it's not something you want right now, because then you will just be able to boss order, exploit the fact that you have two Denes in the bench.
And the chaotic swell here helps, but it doesn't make that huge of a difference. And just an interpret sword coming down from Oliver. So
Dude,
yeah,
woof, rough start here. Looked good at the beginning, and then suddenly everything went downhill when he didn't find. And Free Saucer surprised. Actually, Oliver confesses.
rip.
Wow, pretty sad.
Ouch. Yeah, I can't say it better. Kevin there with a perfect caption. And now, yeah, Kevin of course still needs a switching card. He doesn't play that many. He is very focused on scoop up net, so he plays like 2 escape board and 2 switch other than that. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's the switch.
there we go.
Yeah, there he has it. Getting the evil tile out of the active. And now just with one prize on the Oranguru, of course, very impactful. Means that he's gonna go down to 2 prizes, and then he just needs a great catch at some point to take out that, to take on one of those Titanes, and it will be game. So yeah, looking really, really good for Kevin. Also the Spiritomb squad, of course, assembled on the bench, being ready to apply a ton of pressure.
Oh, and even a Giratina, not doing
Yeah,
much
just
there, but just filling out his deck.
exactly. Probably gonna go for research here.
Kind of
I
showing
guess,
off how much the Spiritomb deck was actually able to fetch its resources. You wouldn't expect the Spiritomb deck to be the one that fetched all the resources and drew all the good cards, because thanks to ADP and Zacian and all the trainers that Oliver is playing, he would be the one that would be able to do so. But actually, no. The Spiritomb deck is just looking so menacing and so powerful.
yeah, for sure. And now, of course, he has this Mani still in his hand, so he can use that to disrupt Oliver just a bit. I mean, of
My
course,
God.
Oliver, right now, all Oliver needs is 1 energy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he welcomes this Marnie. Was not going there anywhere. Definitely a better hand there. But of course, as you say, Spiritomb here is just going for it. It's just gonna take the knockout here, and it's gonna put Kevin down to 2 prizes, which is exactly what the Dene gives. So there we go. Once more, 1 extra card. Order pad, even a Tails, man. Nothing is going Oliver's way, and it's pretty sad. At least he has the money. It's gonna
I
disrupt
mean,
the Kevin's hand, but if there's a boss orders, that's just gonna be game.
in general, Oliver's deck's running pretty smooth. He went first, got the turn to Altered Creation. Then he didn't manage to get up Azation immediately, but the turn afterwards he got it. So it's not going too bad. It's just that Kevin is able to apply so much pressure with his Evil Tile to set up his Spiritombs that quickly. And yeah, Kevin's just not been missing any beats here. Getting and yeah, just applying so much pressure, and it was just too much for Oliver to deal with. And of course, it's not over yet.
Let's find
Oliver
the
can still,
saucer, for example, but we know there's 1 left in the deck. 2 in the prizes, however. But let's actually see, maybe there's a boss orders in Kevin's hand, and that's gonna just seal off the game.
yeah,
But of course, the Zashan looking quite beefy with those 250 HP. And there's a
yeah,
Professor Research, so no boss order this turn.
at least something. And the second round of punishments also going for Kevin here with the research. So he now no stadium cards coming down anymore. Yeah, the Shrine of Punishment could have been pretty useful because that turns Evil Tile GX into a damage accelerator, because you can just move the damage to your Spiritombs. But yeah, just an attack here is probably enough. Of course, Kevin would probably like to see another Spiritomb.
Definitely. So, and as you say, just another attack here. It's gonna make the Zacian with the metal frying pan into the range for the knockout for another Spiritomb. And every turn, these Spiritoms get with less life, but more damage every single turn. And if you're an ADP deck, can exploit this to a certain extent, but those 2 turns that Oliver basically skipped were just the nail in the coffin for him. Even a Mewtwo next turn to probably put the boss orders, if there is any. Yes, there's actually none in the Discord, so that's good for him.
And yeah, Kevin retreating into the Jirachi is of course an interesting choice, but yeah, it would even have made sense if you wanted to stay it like that. Because that he doesn't really need. I mean, the tech improvisation is nice. Don't get me wrong. It helps to apply pressure and it makes it harder for Oliver to respond. So it makes so that Kevin needs less stuff, but not attacking.
I'm trying to count the damage here. Because this Anguish Cry is gonna do 190 minus 30, so 160. And if he heals it off with Malo and Lana, then I don't think Kevin has a way to one-shot it with the other Spiritomb.
Yeah. So that definitely helps. So yeah, just not attacking with Spiritomb would have actually been better knowing his hand, because that protects the Spiritomb on the bench and he doesn't really care about a Jirachi getting knocked out. But of course, Kevin doesn't know that.
He decides to move the damage with ominous posture, and Anguish Cry just doing the damage. Pretty smart here in this way. However, this makes him weaker to Malo and Lana. So yeah, actually Oliver has a pretty big chance here. If Kevin whiffs again the boss order next turn, he might be in the leading position actually.
Yeah, certainly possible.
So Malo and Lana is cut into Professor Research. I really like this. In this way you have the Algigos, which is gonna grant you a supporter for next turn. And actually no, he decides not to use the Algigos. And just goes for the knockout here with the Brave Blade, drawing 2 prizes, and this is just 1 turn away from winning. I'm not sure if he had boss orders in the Discard, but if he did, he would have definitely used the Algigos to get it.
I mean, here you can just use that Eldegoss next turn to get the support.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course, he can one-shot everything that Kevin can dish out. So let's see if Kevin is able to actually catch up to him in the situation. There's a Professor Research.
Yeah, Kevin now definitely needs to find that great catcher to get a knockout on one of the Dennis. Otherwise, yeah, this might be it.
Oliver actually flipping this whole game, just keeping all his nerves in the right spot, just, you know, taking his time. Sometimes things do not look good, but there is the 50 damage. Still not gonna one-shot the decision. Just decides to retreat.
Just a retreat. Now a Stellar Wish for most of his deck.
Yeah, and if there is a great catcher, that's gonna be game. Let's see, Stellar Wish. He needs to pick something, and it is the great catcher. Is there a switch?
And yeah, there's the scoop up net. And yeah, that Metal Frying Pan made it really interesting here, of course. Just reducing that damage was pretty relevant, because then Kevin also whiffed the Hustle Bell to deal extra damage, so he put on pretty insignificant damage, and Oliver almost managed to get the knockout, have a comeback here. But yeah, of course Kevin digged through almost all of his deck in this turn. And yeah, now he gets one shot on the Dana, and Kevin Krueger will move on to 3-0, and he will be in the winners finals. So yeah, he's in a great spot already, and his Spiritomb deck going really, really strong.
Well done, Kevin. Tournament. Very well done. And here we go. There's the Spiritomb is going to take a knockoff with thanks to the Anguish Cry. Close matchup, much, much closer than we actually thought. And every time we saw this ADP deck going back and forth, coming back from bad situations and turning them into good situation. And here it went from good, bad, good. And then the great catcher just sealed the game here off for Kevin.
I think the biggest thing was that Oliver opted to start with the ADP, even though he had ADP and Zacian. I think if he didn't put that ADP in the active, it would have been so much harder for Kevin to get the 30 turn 1.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Always starting with Zacian is the best thing, especially if you play the Frying Pan, because then you can just leave it there, and it's gonna absorb a lot of damage each turn. Because let's remember that Meta Frying Pan is minus 30 damage, not plus 30 HP, which is super relevant. And of course here, the Evil Child made all of the work basically for
Yeah, this
Kevin.
tech really came to shine here. Again, not really sure if Oliver played this correctly, because if he's able to get his ulted creation and then his ultimate ray, he should be in a pretty comfortable position usually. But yeah, again, Kevin of course playing this really well, getting the early aggression and piloting his Spiritomb Rogue deck into the winners finals. Very impressive stuff. And Oliver still at a 2-1 record, still in top 8. Already at least in the top 6 players already. So he's been doing really good so far, and he's by no means out of it yet. We will see him again tomorrow in his later games. And now most of the brackets are already finished, so we will go to a quick break, and then we will be back with the next winners.